Let's bring in Justin Dunk and see what the CFL's foremost insider has to say. And Justin, let's start with the biggest news in the Canadian Football League, and that is the passing of Chris Schultz. You're in the Hamilton area. He lived in Burlington. Big news. What's the reaction out there today?
Very sad day across the region. The GTHA, we call it out here, Roddy, and you mentioned it. I heard it last night, and it was news that you don't want to believe, to be quite honest. There was an emergency call and a response to it, and unfortunately, the worst was revealed. But I remember Schultz for years, obviously on the TSN panel and on the fan radio in Toronto. I used to listen to Football Friday, and it's interesting, you guys obviously have kept it going there now too in a big way. But with him and Mike Hogan, that was appointment listening when I was a kid growing up out on the farm in Guelph with my radio, tuning in, trying to get it on that right spot so I could hear it nice and clear.
Well, I know, I talked to Hoagie this morning, and he gave Schultz his broadcast start. There's some legendary stories there. Maybe we should bring Hoagie in next week and he can tell some of them. But I'll say, I've never told Hoagie this, but I'll just say it now on national TV. Best radio host Toronto's ever had, Mike Hogan, and that includes Bob McGowan. Man, I love those Football Fridays just like you. He broke Schultz in. Anything else you want to say on the big man?
Just loved, man, to be quite honest. Rest in peace. He was a bigger-than-life figure. He drew me into the game. I wanted to watch the broadcast just to see what Schultz had to say, or his coverage of the NFL with Risky Business. You could tell such a passion for the game. Leaves a big hole, man. Prayers up.
Oh, yeah. That will not be he's not going to be replaced. There's no doubt about that. So, other three down news, Justin. I mean, Lynch. I got Lynch onto three down, by the way. It's in his bookmarks. It's only taken 3 years.
But
Lynch,
Justin,
what do you think about 3downnation.com, Lynch? Why don't you ask him the question?
It's great. It's great. The news you have there is very current. I think it's just terrific, really. Where do you think now we are as regards starting here on June 25th? Do you think it's going to happen?
Everything's so fluid, man. But to be quite honest, the Oilers pushing to have fans at Rogers Place makes me even more optimistic about a season. Now, I don't know if they can actually start in June. A lot of that is going to be dictated, as you all know, Frenzy, based on how many fans they can get in the stands. But the Oilers making that push to potentially, they want to get fans in there in April. Whether or not that's signed off on from the Alberta Health Services is a different thing. But the Edmonton football team has been watching closely. And if you're going to put fans in an indoor facility, obviously that would lay the foundation to have them in outdoor facilities. So we're trending in a positive direction here. I can't give you a direct answer, though, as to if we'll start on time, Frenzy.
Okay, what about the league now? Eric Tellman is agreeing with me that the West is going to be exceptionally tough, I think. Edmonton, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, and possibly Calgary. BC, I don't know about them. Down east, I see one team. That's the Hamilton Ticats. The rest of them are very questionable, particularly the Red Blacks and in Montreal. Now, am I wrong? What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to pull it all together?
I'm sort of with you. I think the Toronto Argonauts are certainly going to be a contender. And the developing story there to watch, guys, is Josh Gordon, released by the Seattle Seahawks, is on the Argos negotiation list. And if you follow the past, Josh Gordon was on the neg list in Calgary. John Murphy was there. Josh Gordon was on the neg list in Saskatchewan. John Murphy was there. And again, John Murphy in Toronto. Guess who's on the negotiation list? Josh Gordon. So there's a long-standing relationship there. And the fact he's been released by the Seahawks and is willing to play in the fan-controlled football league makes me think that he could come north of the border to give the Argos yet another weapon. Although for Toronto, that's a lot of parts coming together in year one, which, as you alluded to, Frenzy, makes sense. The Ticats are big-time favorites in the East.
Justin, I'm glad you brought up the Fan Control Football League. I've watched every week, and I saw Josh Gordon get out of a car. Maybe you saw that video in Atlanta with his mask on. He showed up, right, at Hotel Hub headquarters in Atlanta. I didn't realize he was still on the Seahawks roster or was under contract to them. Obviously, he just walked out. He's like, I'm going to go play in this league down there. What are the chances he stays there rather than coming to the CFL?
Well, I don't think the money's going to be the same down in that league unless they're paying those guys like a Johnny Manziel or a Josh Gordon for their star power, right? We've got to see if that has staying power. He knows if he comes up to Canada, he can make legit money. Whether or not he gets that on the first contract or not is to be seen, because a lot of the deals they've been giving out to these former NFLers are minimum salary deals. Gordon, I think, would be a little different and would command more money because of his star power. And, oh, hey, by the way, Gordon, you can come up here and smoke all the marijuana you want and play because it's legal. So let's get him up on the field.
The guys just broke out laughing in the control room here, but it honestly is true.
He would be sensational in this league.
He'd be sensational in any league, but he can't lay off the weed. Yeah. He should be in the NFL.
Certainly.
So, anyways, I guess we'll see where it turns out. By the way, how much are you enjoying the angst across the CFL at the Argos signings, by the way? Because they probably will end up with Josh Gordon. Why not? I'm thoroughly enjoying it. How about you?
It's great. Anytime you can elicit a feeling, good, bad, or otherwise, and people, Roddy, you know well from your talk shows over the years, that's when you really hit on something. So the fact that the Argos are signing all of these players and people are wondering, well, how are they going to be under the salary cap? Let's go over it real quickly in broad strokes. The active roster is not your off-season roster. It's 46 players, I believe, and you get down to game day, it might even be a few less. Yes, you have the injured list, but the 6-game injured list doesn't even count. So by the time you pare it all down, the Argos will be under the cap. I've been told that they're actually under where they were from the previous season when we actually played in 2019, going into that year when Jim Popp was a general manager. You look at Nick Arbuckle's contract, for example, and I'll have a piece up on 3 Down Nation over the weekend that details every salary and breaks it down for the projected number 1 quarterbacks across the league. Nick Arbuckle is projected to make less than $300,000 in what we'll call hard money. He can earn up to $325,000, and it's likely if he starts, he gets that much. But that's part of the reason why the Argos can sign all of these guys. And I mentioned it before, but it needs to be said again, Roddy. The Americans that are signing up here, the former NFLers, Martavis Bryant, Shane Ray among them, are signing minimum salary contracts with no signing bonus.
I forgot that we're preempted for Swiss League hockey here on Game Plus at 1:15, so I got to speed up. Only got about a minute here. The last thing I talked to Chris Schultz about, he texted me and said he was going live on Clubhouse to talk about the future of football on his first live stream on Clubhouse. I'm like, who's got your phone, Schultzy? I was shocked that he was going to do this, right? But then I'm like, I got to tune in. I want to know what Chris Schultz has to say about the future of football. And I'm not sure that he ever did it, but it's a topic that everybody's talking about. And I'm talking football, I think, in Canada. Where do you think the future of this game is going right now amid the pandemic and coming out of it?
Well, in terms of the CFL, it's going through this financial reconstruction. And I understand what Ambrosie's talking about when he's saying they've done more for the business over the last 50 years, or what he's trying to get at, but they've just slash. So I think what's happening with football across the country is we're really getting down to the foundation and seeing, what do we need? Do we have too much of something? And can we get it back up off the mat from 2020?
Justin, great stuff as always. Really appreciate the time today. Keep it up at 3downnation.com. And, stay in touch. Have a great weekend.
You bet, guys. And again, prayers up to Schultz.
You betcha. And condolences to his family and obviously the CFL mourning today the passing of Chris Schultz at age 61.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.